This is the Brew World Order Podcast.
Welcome to the Brew World Order Podcast, the podcast where we talk to brewery owners and ask questions about owning a brewery so that future brewery owners can learn a thing or two. My name is Michael Curtin. If you haven't subscribed yet, my name is Mike Curtin. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'll be emailing you a tutorial on how to do it. This is episode number 70, and in this episode I sit down with Iker Elorriaga, co-owner of Tripping Animals Brewing Company in Doral, Florida. Iker tells us how Tripping Animals came up with the name for their brewery, how being humble is one of the biggest lessons he's learned so far since opening, and his most important brewing tip is to just be patient. Be patient waiting for that yeast to work its magic, be patient waiting for that beer to carbonate, and just be patient overall. Because when you screw up that homebrew, and it tastes horrible, and you're probably going to want to throw your glass across the room after all that time you just spent brewing and waiting. Can you tell I've been there before? One too many times. But I promise you they're getting better. Just be patient with me. Even though you've been patient enough waiting for me to just shut up and to start the interview with Iker. So sit back, crack open a beer, hopefully not a nasty homebrewed one, but a tasty homebrewed one, and enjoy the podcast. Iker Elorriaga grew up in Caracas, Venezuela. In his early 20s, Iker started to become interested in the craft beer world and the homebrewing aspect of it. In 2011, his cousin Juan Manuel Torres introduced Iker to some of his friends he had been homebrewing with, Daniel Chacaran and Ignacio Montenegro. The four would begin brewing beer out of Juan's garage. They would come up with wild concoctions and try to get their hands on whatever grains they could. Friends and family would stop by and tell them that their stuff was good enough to sell. That thought would stick with them as they continued to brew. After years of traveling to breweries all around the world and experimenting with different styles of brewing, the crew took a leap of faith and moved to Miami to pursue the next chapter of their brewing careers. 2018, Iker, Danny, Ignacio, and Juan found their dream location in Doral, Florida. And with that, Tripping Animals Brewing Company was born. And Iker is here with me today. Iker, how's it going, man?
How's it going, Michael? Thank you for having me and us at your podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for being on. I appreciate it. I know you guys were homebrewing for a while and you were looking for a spot before you came to Miami. But what was that initial moment where you finally realized that you wanted to open a brewery?
Yeah, when we started really making the decision that we wanted to open a brewery, that was in 2015, where basically craft beer was booming, in the United States as something that is almost even though it has been hundreds of years existing, it was basically around between probably 8 and 6 years when it just blew up, that it got the attention of a lot of people worldwide.
Right.
And at that time when we were brewing, we saw the opportunity of doing something in Miami where even though there were some breweries already open, it was nothing compared to what we saw that was happening in other craft beer cities, for example, in Nashville or Denver or San Diego, where
right.
you have 20 breweries in a mile.
Yeah, right.
In Miami, I think in 2022 we are at 24 breweries,
which is nothing. Yeah.
It's nothing. Yeah, right. It's nothing.
It's wild. So during that process of opening your brewery, from the moment you guys started looking for a spot to open to the moment when you finally opened your doors, what was the most challenging part for you?
Well, the most challenging part is always the lack of information, right? And that's totally tied to the lack of experience and also being such a new industry. We face a lot of issues with our permits because there were a lot of things that the people who were coming to do the inspections, they didn't have the knowledge also to do a proper inspection. So it was kind of a challenge because at the same time that we're learning ourselves or trying to figure out what's the best way to do things, we have also the opportunity to like almost educate and learn by hand with the rest of the people in the city, like involved in making a project like this happen.
Right.
So that was definitely one of the biggest challenge.
Gotcha. And I'm sure people ask you this all the time, but where did you come up with the name for your brewery?
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah, so when we had the brand in Venezuela, all the labels that we were doing were inspired in animals, right? Mainly. So we always had like that intention of like do something with animals. And when we were coming out with the concept, tripping in Venezuela means actually like having fun. Right?
Okay.
So for us, it was just kind of like something that makes sense because that's the way that we see how we make beer.
Right.
You know? We're just a bunch of animals, having fun.
Right, I like that.
The idea is also for guests, to live the same experience, but without to have to brew the beer, right? Like they just come and just like enjoy yourself.
Of
so
course.
that's the origin of the name. And then when we, started living here and learning more about the culture, we realized that tripping also here had another meaning, more like into, like psychedelics and whatnot. So we embraced it, we made it part of our brand now, like mushrooms are like our second logo, all of our animals look like, they're having way too much fun. but for us, it's just, again, it's like just representing a lifestyle where we try to do things always the best way possible, but the main goal is for people just to enjoy life, like
Gotcha.
the basic things of life, that is just having a good conversation with a friend or with a person that you're just knowing that day, of things that are important for you and for that other person over a fresh, cold, craft beer.
Awesome.
That's the whole point.
I like it, man. I like it a lot. I like the concept.
Yeah.
And where did you guys go about finding the capital to fund your business?
Yeah, so this is all a independent family-owned business. So basically what happened is the four main families, everybody turn around and start raising funds within their families, cousins,
Right.
and people that had the opportunity to put some money in the project. There were some families that they had the possibility of just investing the capital directly into the brewery. And that's also one of the biggest challenge that we had. This question reminds me of the first question. That is, when you're an immigrant coming here to do business into the United States, you have no access or no possibility to the financial system. It takes almost like 5 years of doing business, building record, to be able to have like some type of access to some type of financing. So yeah, it was all raised within our families, and that's how we started.
Very cool. I like it, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah, man, I think like when they did that, a lot of people thought that they were crazy, and look, so far it has worked.
Yeah, right. I mean, you opened up in 2018, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so 2018, and then you're probably almost about to hit 2 years, and then COVID hits and shutdowns and all that good stuff. How did you guys go about transitioning to make things work for you?
Yeah, it was like 48 hours where we just started like drinking all the beer that we had in inventory.
Right.
Because we thought that, it was like, well, either or we're gonna die or the business is gonna shut. But anyways, we're screwed. So it was a rough week. A lot of misinformation. Everybody very nervous. And then when we got our stuff together and we were like, all right, like we cannot allow this like to stop our dream, becoming a reality. Basically, what happened is like our local community and our Florida community just answered like in an overwhelming way to support us when we started like opening our doors like for crowler sales and 4-packs to go, which it was the way that it was like allowed to do any type of sales out of the tap room, right? Like nobody inside, so we lose from one day to another 80% of our income.
Right.
And then 1 week after, we're almost doing the same amount of sales, just selling beer to go. So you're talking about days when we had releases of 300 people waiting in line to buy our stuff, you know.
That's pretty wild.
So yeah, that was definitely one of the most beautiful experience that we had during the pandemic, of just like seeing all of our regulars, all the people from the community, and then a lot of people that like have heard from us but had never had the opportunity to actually like be here in the tap room. But now, they're in their house, maybe 4 hours away, but nothing to do. So people were just driving, like from Orlando, from Tampa, from Daytona Beach, from Delray. Like you mentioned it, and people were driving hours just to come to buy our beers. So that's something we're definitely going to be grateful, and we'll definitely never forget about, those very difficult months that we had. And then here in Florida, it's also like a completely different COVID experience compared to what happened, for example, in you guys in New York, right?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I understood it once I went to New York, and talked to the homies over there that have their breweries, and they were explaining us like what was like the environment in New York City, and like how hostile and how scary it was during like all this month of just like complete shutdown and just like waiting in your house, like hearing just ambulance. So we didn't have that in here in Florida.
Right.
I don't know if it's because people here are more spread, or like, I'm not a doctor, so
of course. I mean, who knows? Who knows the real reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that I know is that we were lucky to have certain wiggle room within what was like okay with the authorities, where they were encouraging to build a safe environment, but to be able like to open your doors sooner than later, right?
Different restrictions and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. With restrictions, with with the mandates, with like you have to sell more food than beer, like to be able to open.
Right.
Like those are the type of things that were happening. And it's like, like, does this really make any sense, like COVID wise?
Who knows?
Or
who knows?
Is this just like a weird, situation?
Right.
So we had a little bit of that, but it was like for a couple of days, and then they just kind of like, just continued doing your regular business. But we did have the enforcement. Well, I already forgot, but I think it was like 4 feet between the tables or 6 feet between the tables, and then lines for ordering and no contact. We did the investment, and we did all the changes that we had to do in our tap room to make it a safe environment.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I mean, besides a pandemic, what was something that you never thought you were going to have to deal with when opening a brewery?
Yeah, so I have a couple of good ones.
Okay.
I would say the first one, it was definitely like the whole compliance aspect of selling beer.
Okay.
Especially when we talk about how different does each state work. It's almost like if you're working with a different country. So that was definitely some of the things that was like a surprise. I was like, okay, I didn't expect this. Basically, you have different laws and different regulations like on each state, and then you almost have counties within a state that also have like different regulations.
Okay.
So that has been definitely really interesting. And then the other part that has been also like really interesting and a lot of learning, it's the whole side of the human resources of an entrepreneur, which I imagine that it not only goes like for breweries,
okay,
kind of like reflects in any entrepreneurship, but definitely like having to make sure that everyone on the team is motivated, is happy, is respecting each other.
Right.
It has been one of the things that it hasn't been a challenge because we really feel blessed and very lucky to have a great team that is very passionate and very feel very proud of what they do, and they feel proud of being a tripping animals.
Right.
But it has been at a personal level, very interesting for me to understand the importance of having your team involved and motivated,
Gotcha. Eye-opening experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. What qualities do you possess that make you a good business owner?
The biggest personal quality that I have is just I feel that I am a person that have the capability of listening to everyone. I feel that it's very important to find a time to listen to everyone, and not only of what they need or what they expect on the work aspect, but also into their personal life without getting into anyone's personal life, because I don't like that, and I wouldn't like anyone getting into my personal life.
Right.
But I do care, and I do focus a lot of asking them every while and then how you doing, how's your life, how you feeling,
right.
And I think that's definitely one of my most important strengths, I would say.
Gotcha.
And the other one is never panic. If the building is in fire, you don't panic.
And don't panic.
Breathe. Exactly.
Figuring out a solution, right?
Brother, everything. You're a firefighter, man. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Don't panic. Keep your head on straight and figure out a solution.
Exactly. Actually, my two cousins that they live in here, they're also firefighters.
Nice.
So that was also one of the things that I was looking forward talking to you, because I respect their profession, and also I've learned a lot from them of what is this culture base, and it's really nice to see how the community respect and appreciate what you guys
Right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
hey, man, also shout out to the cops, man.
oh, of course.
The cops are, they always tell me, my cousin's bro, I was between being a cop and a firefighter, but I saw everybody, felt about the cops.
It's a rough time.
Hey, I'm gonna be a firefighter.
It's a rough time right now for the cops.
Yeah, no, man, I can only imagine. And the thing is, nobody likes to be told what they're doing wrong, and that's the only thing that cops are there for, right?
Of course.
Hey, sir, you're speeding. Oh, you're a piece of shit. It's no, dude, you're speeding.
Yeah, right. No, you're not doing the right thing. Well, whatever. People, like you said, people don't like to be told, when they're doing the wrong thing. But
exactly.
That's the world we're living in now. It's getting crazy, but hopefully things change for the better. I'm praying.
Yeah, no, there's more good people than bad for sure, man.
I like to believe that. What do you think's been the biggest lesson learned for you so far since opening?
The biggest lesson learned, man, is to always be very humble. You never know when you're going to be in the top, and you never know when you're going to be in the bottom, and
right.
You never know what curve life is going to bring you, right?
Of course.
So just being humble, I think it's very helpful to just don't be disappointed, or don't disappoint anyone. So it's really about being humble and being honest. That's definitely the biggest lesson that I've learned, especially having to work with partners and having to, say the good things, but also the bad, right?
Right.
That's definitely one of the biggest eye-opener, where sometimes we don't like talking or saying the things that need to be improved because we think that the other person might feel another way.
Right.
That usually just bring more problems, right? It's just always better saying what you think and facing it, right? The problems are there to be solved, not to run away from them or try to blame on other people always.
Right. I like that, man. I'm sure you've come across a lot of people in the beer industry, but who do you think's inspired you specifically the most in the beer industry?
I definitely have a couple of local brewery friends that they have been super inspiring from the beginning to the end. Like, for example, one name that comes straight to my head, his name is John Falco.
Oh, John. I know John. I actually just interviewed John.
What?
Yeah, I just interviewed John from Lincoln's Beard. He's a great guy, man. I met him in person when I was down there last time. He's a phenomenal dude.
That's so awesome, man. That's a funny coincidence.
Yeah, man. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. Yeah, bro, like Falco, he is inspiration for me because he takes care first of his team, then he takes care of his team, and then he takes care of his team, and then everything works for him, right? Because he knows his priorities. He understands the value of giving back to the community that is giving you everything. He understands the value of creating an experience beyond just brewing a beer.
Right.
So, and also being an ex-military, like,
yes.
Of course.
He's an Air Force guy.
It's like every time I see him, like, I know that I'm going to have a great time, either because we're going to have a very deep conversation that you usually cannot have with anyone nowadays. Right. Or because we're just going to laugh until we're crying,
Yeah, right.
You can't go wrong with Falco.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. And I feel like he's all over the place with as far as opening different places, not only a brewery. I mean, he's got like the pizza shop, the ice cream place. I mean, now he's opening like he has a speakeasy, and it's just like the imagination is crazy, man.
Yeah, dude, that's so inspiring, man, and yes. To see like how he has built it and how far, like, how's he go? Like, I'm just excited to see what he's gonna keep bringing to the table, and it's like at the end of the day, like, inspiration comes out of like respect of what the other people are doing and then the way they're doing it, right?
Right.
And that's him, it's just like, if we have the opportunity, right, to take over a space and give a better experience to the customers, like, that was going to that place before, or if it's a new place that had nothing there before, but you're giving the opportunity to the local community to live that experience, that's really all about it. And that's what, like, I feel that he has been, like, focusing in with all these places that you mentioned that he opened,
right.
Where they're really, like, in areas that they're, like, highly, like, residential, like, community areas where there was almost none of this type of, hospitality business. And he's taking a risk because he understands the value of, like, bringing something like that into a community that didn't have it before, right? So I would say he's a trendsetter,
Yeah, man, for sure. That's great. It's great to have somebody that's that's so close by too, that you can bounce ideas off of. That's that's really awesome.
100%. That's the other thing, man. That guy is an open book for us. Anything that I need to know or that we need to know, better said, we just gotta ask him and he'll answer.
Right. So speaking of success, how do you define success? And also, is there a moment that sticks out for you where you saw your business going in the right direction?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the second question.
Okay.
I feel like all of my doubts were, like, answered the first day that we opened the doors. Like, the first day that we opened the doors, we had, like, over 300 people, like, show up.
That's awesome.
And that was not a coincidence, that was a lot of years of hard work and a lot of time and money invested into home brewing, assisting to all the local events, traveling to other states, like, to meet people, to see what people were doing in other breweries. So, like, from day one, it really felt that we had, like, the opportunity to build something special, within the space and outside of the brewery, like, with distribution, right?
Right.
And then on the success question, that's a good one, because it can be measured from so different ways. Like
sure.
Nowadays, like for me, success is almost like just being alive,
Hey man, that's why I asked that question. I want to hear everybody's input on what do they think success is for them, personally.
Yeah, I mean, success, brother, for the success that really matter for us is the success of seeing our employees and the family that we have built here all with good health. It's the success is to see that they are motivated and happy with what they're doing, and the success is like that we are giving them also opportunities to grow within the company, right?
Right.
Like that's what really like defines the success for us in here. And then, of course, you have the financial part where you need to have, the numbers at least in orange or in yellow before going to green, so
right.
that it can allow you the stability that as a company you need also to provide, the best conditions, for your employees, while at the same time, returning the investment. So, but that's a different thing. Like, money is definitely not success.
Right.
Money is just there, and it's what it is.
I know sometimes owning a business can get a little overwhelming. How important is a mental break for you, and what does that look like?
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Like, if there is this saying that I like a lot, that is like, if you're not good with yourself, you cannot do good to others, right? So if you're in a spot for whatever reason that you're not like good with yourself, it's really tough to have like a positive, good environment in your workplace. So with that said, basically my break or my mental peace, it comes like to traveling to a place that has the highest mountain where I can kind of like get lost there
right.
for a couple of days, connect to nature, have no phone signal, and share also with my wife that, she puts also a lot of effort on and understanding in all the hours that we spend, in the business.
That's great.
Yeah, but definitely like my biggest thing is just traveling for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, love seeing the world. Love going to different breweries as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When we travel, it's like, oh, let's check brewery.
Yeah, I feel like that's it, man. That's it. Every time I'm like, well, what breweries are in the area where we're going to be staying,
Yeah. She's like, oh, I thought we were going to do something different. It's like, well, we have never been before. It's different,
Yeah, just stop in for one. It's just one.
Exactly. You gotta start, playing your cards smartly.
Right, yeah. So, what was your, I would love to know this, what was your gateway beer into the craft beer world? What was that beer that kind of opened your eyes to craft beer?
This is a question that they have done to me already a couple of times, and I think that I need to find a better answer.
No. Your answer is your answer,
It's really, yeah, for me, it was more a style of beer.
Okay.
More than like one beer per se.
Okay, what was it? What was the style, and do you know what beer it was?
Yeah, the IPAs. When I started drinking IPAs for the first time.
Do you know which beer put you on to the IPAs, or?
Bro, that's the thing. It's crazy because it was not like one specific beer that I can like recall.
Okay. That
was like, oh, this is so special. But I think that was already a little bit after I was already like into craft beer.
Okay.
I remember drinking a Civil Society IPA, and that was like, I don't remember, it was Fresh or Pulp, like one of their core IPAs.
Okay.
And I remember like drinking that and being like, okay, this is a special,
Right.
So yeah, that definitely one was the brewery that kind of like make that like before and after, for me.
Gotcha. And if you had one home brewing tip that you'd like to share or pass on to somebody that home brews, what would it be?
Be patient.
Be patient. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Beer, bro, it's about having fun,
Right.
And when you're having fun, like, you cannot rush things. And one of the things that we have learned here with beer is like it takes its time.
Right. For sure.
To be where it's want to be, So you gotta be patient. If the beer is not good, you gotta be patient because it's not gonna be good the first time. Like you're working home brewing with difficult conditions, right? You
Right.
don't have equipment to really control all the parameters and all the things that you need to control, like to get the quality of the product that you're expecting, right?
Right.
So yeah, just be patient and enjoy what you're doing. It sounds very generic, but I'm
course.
also not a
But it's the truth.
brewer, so
Right. It's the absolute truth, though. But what's next for your brewery? What does the future look like for Tripping Animals?
So in the near future, we're looking into expanding into a tap room. Get a second like tap room location here in Florida. That's definitely something that we got on the works. We also have a big festival on April 23rd. It's gonna be the Irie Jungle.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That looks very cool, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be rad. It's gonna be cool. So we have that. We're also working and starting to cook some cool NFT project for our community. So we also have that on the work.
Okay.
And then we are on the constant, quest of trying to improve our beers. So that's something that, is always going to be there in our priorities too for our plans.
Right. And if somebody came to you and asked you for advice on opening their own brewery, what would you tell them?
To have at least half more of the money in the bank ready to spend.
Right. Take whatever it is and double it.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you have the possibility of double it.
Right.
It's a lot of things that you figure down along the way that they just take time and money. Nothing more sad than seeing a project start and then die before it starts.
Yeah,
so
never gets finished, right?
Never get finished. And also, like, hey, man, like, go out there, talk to breweries. There's a lot of people in this industry willing to help and to give information because to a certain extent, that's what most of us have done before we open the brewery, right? You visit all the breweries, you learn and you educate yourself about the laws and the compliance that you have for where you want to open, and you listen to the stories of success and failure that other people have had, so you try to, save some time and money.
Of course. Well, yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to start this podcast. To kind of get inside people's heads, help out future brewery owners.
Yeah, of course. Smart.
Yeah, I know. And did you happen to have a funny story for us?
Every time we travel and we go out of state, we just have too much fun sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't feel fair because it doesn't feel like it's work.
Of course.
So when you're
with good company, it's always going to be good times,
Yeah, 100%, man. So it's a bunch of creative people like drinking beer. So it's definitely always it's always good times. I had this one story on a trip that we did to Denver to our first JBF.
Okay.
I went with their brewer at that time, Jack. So I reserved the plane tickets. I reserved the Airbnb. Everything is set to go. We get to the Airbnb. Of course, I did that last minute, so everything was booked. So we had to stay in a suburb of Denver. So kind of sketchy. We get the Airbnb. The code that we had was not working for the door. So I had to go to the lady on her house that she was the building, and she literally walked through the back of the house, came in and opened the door. She's like, "Oh, here you go, guys." And we were like, all right, that doesn't look too safe, but whatever. So we get there, we drop our stuff. Our Jack said, like, dude, I'm not leaving my stuff in here. You saw how he just got in the house.
Right.
I left everything in there. We go to the JBF. We had a great day, amazing. We're super tired. It's like 12:30 at night. We're getting back at the house. I'm trying to open the door. I smell like this, like super fresh, like wheat smell,
right.
You know, like coming from within the house. And I'm like, all right, like this is kind of weird, but whatever. I open the door and I see a guy like laying on the couch, like blazing a joint at 1 a.m. And the moment that I turn back, like I don't see my brewer anymore. He already like left the premises.
I'm out of here.
And that was epic. I was like, yo, like, what the fuck? You guys are being Airbnb. And they were like, no, this is my Airbnb. So I was like, bro, like, open the door, like, go to the room, like, open the drawer. My passport is in there.
Yeah.
Bro. So, you know, it got a little bit tense. You know, like, suddenly, like, 4 guys show up, like, from different rooms.
Oh, my
and everybody
God.
was like, oh, Jack was already, like, calling her friends from other breweries, telling them that he was gonna crash with them, and I was like, "Dude, are you crazy? Like, we pay for this, you know? Like,
yeah,
like we're not leaving. We got here first."
Oh my
so
God!
They had some ladies with them on the group. So I was like, "Hey, you know what, man? You guys got your girlfriends here. Like, I'm not gonna put the girls like through this. Like, let me just grab my stuff and you know, and we'll find our way."
Right.
So that's what we did. We took our thing, left, like knock on the door on the lady, and we like, "Yo, like, this just happened, like, just give me your money back." And then she was like, "Oh my God, I gave you the wrong number of the house." So, yeah.
What a disaster.
It was the house, like, next to it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah.
So everything worked out.
And then, of course, my brewer was like, "Oh, you're crazy." I was like, "Dude, you're a chicken, you know, like, you're a coward." Like, the Airbnb was ours. I was like, "No, I'm not trying to get stabbed in Denver." I was like, "All right, you're right."
That'd be a good name for a beer, maybe, Stabbed in Denver. But I don't know if I would actually want it to happen. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how the sales are gonna go for that.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, man, that's hilarious. What a disaster. Oh my God.
Yeah, completely. And of course, every time that I had to book a flight, he was on top of me and saying that I was a mess, that it was all my fault.
Right.
This and that.
Of course.
Yeah. It's always a good time, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a little segment called Quick Fire 5 quick questions, beer related. Ready?
Yeah. Yep.
So, somebody comes into your brewery. What's one of the beers you recommend they try?
No Mames, or Mexican lager.
Mexican lager, okay. If you can collaborate with any other brewery on a beer, who would it be?
Trillium.
Trillium. I love Trillium, man. Trillium's great.
Yeah, one of those guys. It would be huge for us,
right.
Just because of like the appreciation that we have for their products, you know.
Right. Favorite style of beer? Lager. Favorite name you've come up with for one of your beers?
And we have a bunch of crazy names. It's a triple IPA, and it's called Mahi Did It. So the name of the beer is like actually like the fish, Mahi, and then Did It, and then on the label we put like Ma, he did it. So, yeah.
Mahi Did It. I gotcha. Yeah, I see it. I just looked it up.
Yeah, that's a cool one. And it's a great beer. So.
The green label? Yeah, I see it, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, and you have one keg of beer to hold you over for a 2-week quarantine. What beer are you choosing? It doesn't have to be yours. It could be somebody else's, whatever.
Oh, bro, I definitely would grab a Helles beer from Bierstadt.
All right, well, Iker, that's all I got for you, man.
Well, Michael, thank you so much, bro, for your time, man. It's been really fun and interesting sharing with you these, minutes.
Yeah,
please make sure to send me your address, and I would love to send you some beers your way.
So I'd love that.
Drink some Tripping Animals while you edit the podcast, right?
Oh, I'd love that, man. I would truly appreciate that. That'd be awesome. Thank you for taking out the time. Finally glad we were able to link up and make this happen.
Of course, man. Anytime, man. Yeah. Appreciate what you do.
I'm Mike Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast, here with Iker Elorriaga, co-owner of Tripping Animals Brewing Company in Doral, Florida. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man. Stay trippy, right?
Absolutely. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to my interview with Iker Elorriaga, co-owner of Tripping Animals Brewing Company in Doral, Florida. Whether you're passing through, you live in the area, or just visiting a friend nearby, or you're just moving down there because that's where everybody seems to be moving, definitely check those guys out. They got some amazing beers. Also, give them a follow on social media while you're at it. Every other Sunday I'll be releasing a new episode, so subscribe and you'll never miss one. Also, give us a follow on social media because I'm always on there doing some wacky stuff. And in episode 71, we're switching it up. We're going video. We're going high tech, baby. So check that out as well on our YouTube channel. I'm Mike Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast. You stay safe out there.